Hey everybody, welcome to this preview video of Sundered. So, I want to call this a review, but technically not, because typically this video is not going to follow the standard that I usually do for reviews, you know, having a script written out, having some well-written points, hopefully eloquent enough to get by my ideas. But honestly, I've been hard-pressed to have the time to do that, so we're going to do more of a casual look at this. This is Sundered. This is made by Thunder Lotus. If the name sounds familiar to you, or if you've scribed this game on Steam, you'll notice that this is from the same people who have made the game Jotun, a sort of Valkyrie-esque, you know, what's the term I'm looking for? Norse mythology kind of game where they focused on bosses and very gorgeous art styles. And in a way, Sundered is the same way. Now, I was given to this by the developers. They gave this to me a day before the release date and told me to like stream it, show it off, and they told me to do that. So this was given to me gratis. Take that what you will. Know that all opinions are probably skewed based on my based on this input. But yeah, since then I've kind of played a lot about this game. Now you'll probably see progress 100%, 17 hours, also a regular file. Highwing must really like this game, right? Well, yes and no. The game definitely has flaws. I will cover those as they come up, and some that probably won't show up because they take roughly 10 hours to get to. But yeah, I'll discuss the game as I play it, that way we can have more of a live feed going on. Now here's the... oh, well, not quite yet. So first off, I have about 20,000 on credits. If you notice on the bottom there, you'll notice I have a blue and red bar. That is health and shield. In this game, you have a regenerative shield and health that is healed by medkits, which is the two little divots there. You also have, drumroll please, a stamina meter that is exclusively for limiting your rolls. I really don't like that system. If you're gonna put a dodge in your game, don't limit it. Make it not as good, that way people can spam the rolls and not get caught off guard when they can't roll. I don't think that's unfair. Here's one thing I really like about the game. Here's the upgrade tree. This is a big upgrade tree, and I know you're probably thinking, wow, that looks a lot like Rogue Legacy, or Immortal Redneck, or every other game that has an incremental upgrade system, a legacy system for as you beat the game, you die and come back and spend your stuff. That's because that's what this game has. I'm not gonna guss it up. It's basically Sphere Grid meets Rogue Legacy. Now, granted, it's not bad. I like the way the system works. The money is not... the prices are not bad. If you play properly, you could buy 10s to 20 upgrades at a time and burn through the tree. Though a lot of the time your money is gonna be spent on these big upgrades, which usually cost thousands. But yeah, so... one thing this game emphasizes is, you know, you're needing to upgrade to face threats later on. If anything, I would suggest focusing on one of two things. Shield first and foremost, because shield is a easily restored HP meter. Health, because eventually shield will get broken and you kind of want to have a backup plan. And damage, because the best way to not take damage is to end a fight quickly. However, given my circumstances, I only really have access to health right now. You also have access to armor. Now here's the thing about armor. Armor is really cool in this game because it doesn't just do damage reduction for your health, it also applies to your shields. So armor is also a really good thing to upgrade into. I'm kind of early in the game though, so let's go ahead and get some health. Let's also get some armor. I could get an extra perk, but that would require 1400, so I can't get that quite yet. We'll also increase damage, but I've burned my stuff, so... that's about all we got right now. Now, the other thing we got here is a perk system. Perks are little trade-offs that you could buy. Right now, I have converting enemy drops into health elixirs, which is actually really good. I used to think that was bad, but then I realized you don't really lose out on that many shards from killing monsters as such, so it's fine. I also have treasure chest gives me more shards, but hordes appear more frequently. Now, keep in mind the term hordes. I'll explain that later, but basically hordes appear more frequently. And the one I have equipped right now, which is 10% higher chance to crit at the cost of 20 HP. At this point in the game, crit is not great, so I'm going to swap out to health charm. This is my test file, which I was doing before the big 8-hour stream I did, like when this game was in pre-release. So some of the stuff is a little goofy. But yeah. Our character's name is Esh, E-S-H-E. I'm thinking it's like an homage to MC Escher. I'm probably wrong in that case. I like the character design. Very nice, very subdued. Also still shows that she's actually not a, she's kind of got, you know, a bit of style to her. She loves showing off. But yeah, you have a typical 4-hit combo, 5-hit combo, sorry. Air combo. This move right here, this little... Let me see if I can demonstrate this properly. This move right here, it preserves your horizontal momentum. It, like, nullifies your vertical momentum. So if you need that little bit of extra horizontal range, you can do that. But there's also this. That uppercut move also gives you some horizontal and vertical gains, so that's kind of objectively better. You'll typically use that. Also, if you noticed, I have a double jump. That's one of the early upgrades you get in the game, which I'll show off when we get to the next zone. As for the main objective, your main objective in this game is to collect Elder Shards. I'll explain that in a minute once I pop open a drink. Hang on a second. Elder Shards are exactly what you think they are. They are fragments of an Elder God. This game is not in any way hiding the fact that it is influenced by all of the Eldritch stories, Lovecraft, and the like. There's specifically an upgrade in this game called Nyarlathotep something. I can't remember what, but it basically boosts your luck by a fuck ton. So they are not trying to hide the fact that they are going off the whole Eldritch Stygian mythos. What other systems am I missing? Dodge roll. I covered that, yeah, I covered dodge roll. It's good, it's got iframes, but it's also limited. Now, if you notice on the map, there are 3 specific forks. 2 of them are closed right now because they lead into other areas that I have not unlocked normally. Basically, the idea is when you're done killing things and you feel like you want to cash out, or if you just die, you can come back to the sanctuary, cash in your stuff, and then go to another area. So, here is the first big flaw in the game. The loading. Unlike other Metroidvanias, the game's map is split into 3 different segments. Now, not only are these segments huge, they require their own loading, they're also randomly generated, which is why they need to load it each and every time. And the loading screens are long. I have gotten to a point where I've gone out, gotten a drink, talked with someone in the house, and then came back and I was still loading an area. These loading screens are not great. For any prospective LPers that want to LP this game, be sure to cut this out. This is a drag. So yeah, much like Jotun, or Jotun, however it's pronounced, this game's got a very lush and beautiful art style as signified by Escher, or Esh, sorry. The map is also really big. I've explored a lot of areas. There's a lot of places I could go to right now. I'm gonna, for the most part, explore them. I do have something that I could get in this area specifically. The last time I played this file, I died in this area. But there's also something I could get, and I'm hoping to get this video to demonstrate things. But much like other Metroidvanias, you go through areas, you open up gates, you open up shortcuts, and then go through them. Unfortunately, this doesn't have the warp system like in a true Metroidvania. You don't have like warp points or cards that will allow you to warp places. It's kind of like a, I can't believe I'm actually referencing this. This game uses the Dark Souls mentality where you just open up shortcuts to the start of an area, that way you could do the walkback super easily. Also, I gotta remember that I'm not on my 100% file, so I can't really do all the cool bullshit I could do in that game. So here's the combat. I will go into combat in a lot more detail once I'm done here, but yeah. Here's how combat and enemy placement works. You go through the area, and eventually monsters will spawn into you a la Serious Sam style. There's no logic to it, there's no reason to it, it just happens. So there's no enemy placement design in this game. At any point, monsters could just drop in hordes and ruin your life. And I really think that's not great. Granted, it makes backtracking easier because you don't want to have to deal with, say, the archers on Anno Orlando, or the skeletons blocking your way into, like, upside-down Dracula's castle. You just have to run through and hope that you don't get subverted. But this also means there's really no dynamic to the difficulty in this game. Just at some point at random in the game, enemies will appear, and they will hunt you in hordes. And there's really no logic to it. There's no forethought. You just have to react. It kind of lacks the depth in this game. Also, there's a secret here. If you play this game, there's a lot of hidden secrets. This is one of them. It's really hard to tell because the clue is a chain link fence that leads you to believe you could drop down into here, but it's also covered by another chain link fence. Now, I also mentioned before that the map design is indeed random, but it's not a heavy degree of random. Oh, hang on a second. The map design is, you know, random, but there is still generic areas. Like, the overall map design is set in stone. Like, you could go to an area and get the double jump consistently. It's just that the route there is just based on a bunch of random permutations of rooms that will dictate which way you go. So at some point you could go to say a T fork in the road, and other times it'll be a four-way split in the road, or it'll just be a linear path, a long winding linear path. Now, if you've noticed a while ago, a lot of those treasures were just hanging onto ceilings, and I was able to spam double jump in a manner to do so. That's the mechanic of the double jump. Notice how now I'm not spamming the double jump? That is kind of a neat mechanic in this game. If you hit anything in the air with any of your attacks, your double jump is reset. I think that's really cool. I like that mechanic. I wish more people would do that. That's one of the things I like about this game. I think it's a really good system. It promotes combat in the air. It promotes taking risks and allows you to deal with more enemies. The only thing I really don't like about it is that it takes so long for you to get the double jump that you would probably not even you would probably forget about it. And the only time they tell you about this is in a loading screen. By the way, if you hear that gong in the background, it means it's time for Battle Arena. I don't like this system at all. So not only do you have random encounters, you can have a big random encounter a la Left 4 Dead 2. Now, if you're wondering why I'm using buzzword soup to describe this game, that's why, because boiled down, that's exactly what this game is. A lot of the systems really don't meld well together. Like, this horde system basically spawns a fuck ton of enemies for you to deal with, while the combat system with its limited, you know, limited rolls and limited HP doesn't really account for that. You also don't really have you don't really have access to easy ways to renew your medkits. I actually had to run away because I was taking a lot of damage because those floating orbs there kept tackling me. And I'm at a point in the game where those guys do 3 consecutive tackles, so they can melt my HP pretty easily if they spawn in droves. And that really doesn't fit the whole limited resources mechanic, because there's no real reliable way to get medkits in this game. Medkits are a random drop from various random objects in the field. Also, if you hear that klaxon, don't worry, that's for this thing. I kind of like this level design here. I think it's neat because it's like you could go forward and discover one path, or you could wait and then use the hazard to access another level. I think that's clever. But yeah, about medkits, you either get them from these objects or if you have a trinket, from enemies. And it's not reliable. So at some point, your run will just end because the RNG has actively messed with you. I don't think that's good game design. I don't like randomness in a Metroidvania. I feel like if you want to make a roguelike, you make a roguelike. If you want to make a Metroidvania, you design levels. The two really don't go all that well together. I distinctly remember a specific part where I was trying to redo a challenge mission to get a unique perk. But at one point, the map changed arbitrarily, and I didn't even notice, and then I had to redo the level again because of it. I had to relearn the level, and that was awful because the new permutation was goddamn insufferable. One thing I also forgot to mention, you may have seen me doing this. That is your most powerful attack in the game. It does 2.5 times the damage of your auto combo in general. The trade-off is that it's slow to do, but if you got the opportunity to do it, you take it. Because it will expedite fights, bar none. Aside from that, your combo ender does double the damage of your normal attack, but why do that when your drop attack is super powerful? And spammable. Like I mentioned, it has a cooldown, but in general, if you could do drop attacks consistently on a target, you will do more damage than an auto combo, and I feel like the developers may need to balance that. Because I could think of so many boss fights that I lamed out because of the drop attack. By the way, notice how many of these flyboys have been here, ruining my day. Yeah, that's not going to change anytime soon, because in the first biome, that's going to be your biggest threat. Oh crap, I'm in a bush. That's another thing I gotta mention. Notice the bushes that I've been taking damage to? That shit's really hard to see. Have you guys noticed that? That stuff blends in really well with the background, and I really don't like that. Oh, it looks like they kind of balanced the flyboys in the time I played this game. These guys used to do 3 dash attacks in the air, now they only do 2. When they did 3, it was almost nigh impossible to actually deal with them. But yeah, here's my perk in effect. We've gone, what, 60 minutes into this video, and we just now got a medkit, 4% chance. Granted, I don't mind the whole low percent chance to get stuff in this game, because that actually coincides with the horde-based gameplay. It's just that I feel like the horde-based gameplay doesn't really coincide with the whole, Metroidvania aspect of things. Yeah, I'll show off the plot. We gotta review the game's story. So allow me to explain something that I'm pretty sure is a running gag by now for people that watch my channel. I like this kind of lore. This is good. This is an active telling of the background scenario of the situation. It gives you a good telling of the background circumstances without going into too much depth. And it's framed in context of what you're dealing with, because at the beginning of the game, this place tells you that this is the Valkyrie camp. And then your buddy here tells you, or these crystals tell you, the Valkyries are a race that invaded this planet. They were a race of people led by technology and hearts empty of faith. They came and demanded everything, and our priest, this guy's name, restrained them. That is lore in the context of a story. That is good use of lore in storytelling. I like that. But this game also uses bad lore in storytelling. If I ever go back to the tech tree, I will fully explain that. By the way, I forgot to mention, that voice there, that's our, quote-unquote buddy character in the game. We didn't see this because I didn't show you guys the intro, but the game starts with Esh going through a desert and finding an artifact. The artifact teleports her to this place where she runs into something called the Shining Trapezohedron. That voice we heard just now was him giving a historical backstory of this area. He's also quite plainly and overtly evil, because throughout the game he will tell you, collect Elder Shards, and I am not summarizing this, he actively tells you, corrupt your abilities. This is intended. The tagline of the game is resist or embrace. That basically means, are you going to resist the allure of the corruption, or are you going to embrace it fully? By the way, if you play through this normally, you kill a thing here and it opens up a shortcut so you never have to see that lore again. I just wanted to show that up for the sake of the game because it kind of ties into, you know, the writing of the game. And I think the writing of this game is alright. There are some things that are questionable, but it also does a lot of good things, and I was legitimately interested in the story. I enjoyed hearing about the story about the Valkyries versus this strange race that we have yet to see. It's an Eldritch race. You slowly realize that you're effectively in a not equivalent of the Plateau of Lang, with a whole bunch of just, you know, Eldritch horrors that are made of masses of writhing tentacles. This is a you know, This is the equivalent, a video game equivalent of an H.P. Lovecraft story with way less racism and, you know, bad writing, because Lovecraft's writing is not great. Luckily, this is not a klaxon, so this fight should end soon. There are also two worms in the ground here, but they're not going to pop up because I'm pretty sure this area doesn't allow them to do that. There they are. Oh, there's the klaxon. So let's do another fight. It's been what, 5 minutes? You've dealt with plot, so get a horde. This is another reason why I don't like the horde system. It happens a fucking lot. And it almost feels like killing enemies is detrimental to the circumstance, because even if you kill them, the same 3 enemies will just appear again, and you're never safe from a threat. Like, notice how I've killed a bunch of worms, yet they're still coming. Yeah, if I just kind of stop talking, you know why I'm focusing, because you kind of need focus when you're dealing with the hordes. Oh, get back down here. This is why I like the double jump mechanic. It promotes air game and allows you to do dumb shit like uppercut scam, and the uppercut's such a really good ability. Now, if I remember right, we actually didn't have to do any of that because I unlocked a shortcut here, but there's also a boss fight here. So let's demonstrate that. See that effect? So, one criticism that a friend of mine brought up in regards to this game is that in Yotun, a lot of the art was really raw and rough. And you can kind of see it in this game too, because if you take a good look at the boss here, you notice that his line art is kind of harsh. It's not too bad, but it's also... you could tell that it was just colored rough line art. I also want to detail another thing with the turret guys, which I'll discuss later, but I also want to kill this boss. Because he has an Elder Shard fragment that allow me to do something hopefully at the end of this video. Oh shit. I gotta be careful. Yes, please leave, I'm out of shielding. Oh right, I don't have air dash, I gotta be careful. Okay, that thing's almost dead, we're fine. And that activates the horde as... oh wow, that really did activate a horde. I was being snide. So take a good look at this guy's animations. Probably gonna be hard to see given that this is a 720p video. But the turret and the big guy animations are something I want to detail into once I'm done here. Oh, there's also a gold one. Shit. These are effectively champion enemies. They have more HP and deal more damage. That's about the sum of it. They don't have any special attacks. I need to get out of here. I don't think the game was too pleased with me killing their boss, so they're kind of throwing a lot of turrets at me. Oh. Wait, okay, the champion didn't leave. I don't want the champion to leave because he has a perk that I could unlock. No, he's 1 HP. Wait, damn it. There we go. Air combos are pretty good if you know when to use them, but in general, you want to exploit drop attacks. And I'm pretty sure you, the viewer, have noticed, but yeah, the turret guys, when you aggro them, they go into a defensive state. They emit a aura, but they also get another HP meter, which is shielding. That's kind of aggravating, but if you bull rush them hard enough, you can subvert the shield. But yeah, let's talk about animation real quick. This game has very good animation, even as the enemies. And while some people may question my comparison here, a lot of the aesthetic and the fluid animation reminds me a little bit of the video game Another World, if you've ever played that. They re-released that in, what, 2013 or something? I can't remember the exact date, and I'm not going to put it up because that requires effort. But yeah, the animation for even the enemies is just so fluid, and I think that's really cool. Which is why it's a shame it's in such a, you know... This is gonna come into a flaw of this game. Another flaw of this game that I gotta mention right now. Notice how during that fight, there were a lot of enemies. there were a lot of enemies. The ground was actively, you know, filled with enemies to the point where if I stayed on there, I would take damage. And there was also a lot of beams that would just fill the screen. And there were a lot of enemies just punching me in general, covering up Esh herself. There's a lot of visual pollution in this game. I know the game art is beautiful, but man, they shove it in your face. And I think that's just an active detriment, because oftentimes you will lose track of your character. And that's not good design. It's another reason why I don't like the horde-based gameplay. It's lazy design for difficulty, and it detriments from the really good art assets this game has. Wow, I really struggled to say that. Like, notice how there's just so many enemies that I have to deal with. They just throw enemies at you left and right. And if you're probably wondering, yes, there is indeed a locked set of doors there. I can't do anything with that until a little bit later. Not too much later, because I'm gonna get the upgrade to handle that, but right now, it kinda has to take a side path. This game is non-linear. It doesn't seem like it, but you can choose your own path. I will say, I fully explored all 3 areas of the game before I faced the true end-level boss, the first true end-level boss of this area. So there is a lot of, you know, ways to explore in this game, but there's also a bit of linearity to it as well, so take what you will. Also, I mentioned before, I mentioned champion enemies and bosses. Both bosses have... The boss I just fought is technically a mini-boss, because, you know, he was just basically a recolored enemy. Fighting those bosses gives you an Elder Shard, and more than often, a new perk. Alongside bosses, we have champion monsters, which are basically the same thing, but not as special. Like, we fought a champion, Panzer, and compared to the boss Panzer, he didn't have as much special abilities. Like, the boss Panzer had invisibility, while the champion just had more health. Champions, too, have the chance to drop perks as well. It's not a guarantee, but early on in the game, you will, odds are, be getting a perk. Also, that was the shortest horde yet. Wow. That was really satisfying. I think it was just because of where I was at, the game could not really spawn anyone. So I would say if you're gonna fight, if you hear the klaxon, try and head to like a thin area, that way the game actively cannot send hordes of enemies at you. Yeah, let's see if we can do something about getting a new perk. Because if you look on the map, there's a gold spot there. That's a perk. I want to get that. There's also a mid-boss that I could fight as well once I get this perk. And this video is probably going to take a lot longer than normal. We're already approaching 27 minutes. I usually try to avoid that for anything like a review or even for an LP episode. But I do want to show off the titular thing, but I am unfortunately short 1 Elder Shard, so I can't do so quite yet. Come here, guys. I want to clean up here. Luckily, showing off this thing will also lead into me showing off the power-up system in this game. Now, one thing I do like about this is that, the developers know what catharsis is. There's a lot of glass bottles here. It would take forever to destroy these manually. But they do that for a reason, for the power-up that we're gonna get here, which is gonna deal with these weird turret-looking things. So, this is a power-up room. I know, it looks really cool. But this also, admittedly, ties into another problem in the game. The developers really love to zoom out and show you the landscape, rather than keep a consistent view on your character. Which, right now, doesn't really pose much of a problem. This is a good time to use it. This lets you, you know, bask in the gravitas of the circumstance. But also, when this happens during a fight, you can easily lose track of your character. So let's see what I get here. Now, if you're still in this video viewer, God bless you, but also keep in mind, after I break this thing, I'm not going to have control of my character. So if things seem weird, you know why. We got a big fucking gun. Yeah, notice how our good friend the trapezohedron is sitting there like, yeah, this is cool and all, but I could corrupt it and make it better. I do like the fact that the game eggs you on into corrupting it, but I feel like trapezohedron is a little too evil. If you're a fan of my channel, you've probably watched me play Darkest Dungeon to no end, and he reminds me a little bit of the Ancestor with how comically evil he is. Like, he will not hide the fact that he is just doing this for his own end. But yeah, the gun. The gun is good, but I also don't like the gun because the gun is big, takes time, unwieldy, but it does a boatload of burst damage and punches through things. I will admit I have needed the gun before. The gun is good. The gun is really good. I personally don't like it because I like auto combos, I like doing stuff, I like beating things up in personal range. I'm a melee sort of man, so I typically don't like to play gun. But in the horde mode, but with how the game likes to throw hordes at you, use the gun. The gun is good. The penis is evil, so says Zardoz. If anybody gets that reference, I'm not sorry. That movie really sucked. So, we could walk all the way back through several areas. Actually, no. I'm not gonna make the same mistake twice. I was going to say we could walk through all the areas and just, you know, get to the next area, or I could just go to the sanctuary via the pause menu. I like that they did this. They just let you warp back to the nexus point of the game through the menu, and then we could suffer a long loading time. But I'm gonna show you folks something that you need to keep in mind when you play this game, because I didn't realize this until 10 hours into the game, which is why I was able to explore 3 areas before actually, you know, dealing with the first big bad. The game wants you to go here to unlock a bunch of forks. Also, I gotta deal with the horde, so let's deal with that. Now, here's another criticism that a lot of people bring up that I completely forgot to bring up because it hasn't appeared until now. This game has a really fucking prevalent bad habit of enemies attacking you off-screen. Now, right now it's just lasers, which normally isn't bad, but it's not just the laser boys that could do that. You remember the orb boys that I talked about before that can melt you just by being prevalent on screen and just ramming you forever? They also can, you know, wind up off screen, either willingly or you can combo them off screen. And then your combo stops and you gotta wait for them to attack before you can attack again. There are also enemies that just willingly fly off screen. Also, these panzers could just wind up off screen by attacking off screen. This is really bad. It really breaks the flow of the game because at no consequence to you, not only can you not attack an enemy and just be stuck fighting a long, grindy fight, but it also just boasts bad game design. The fact that enemies can spawn off screen, know exactly where you are, attack you from off screen without consequence, and then you have to put in the effort to deal with them, that's shit design. I am not going to put on an air of professionalism here. I don't like that. That's bad design. That is shit design. The developers need to lock enemies to where you are at the time if they're going to make them spawn in. That is not fair in the least. I say this because I have more than once knocked an enemy outside of the arena, and then they get free hits at me because I can't do a goddamn thing to stop them. But yeah, I'm going this way because it unlocks that 4-way fork, and it's also going to unlock this 4-way fork, which we kind of need to unlock. Because if you don't unlock that, you're going to miss out on a lot of the area. Also, we get some freebies here. Now, one thing I forgot to mention about the camo, the cannon, is that it takes 2 pieces of ammo to use. It takes 1 of your stamina and 1 bullet. The bullet I understand. It's a gun. Gun takes ammo. With how powerful that gun is, I can also understand why it takes a bullet and limited ammo. Why the hell does it take a stamina? The fact that you could roll yourself out of stamina to the point where you can't use your gun is pretty dumb.
Schwanzach. Schrecklich. Imetritagime, iklikfaga. Hüschlia, alarife. Nuech. Hüschlia verlegdet nimau. Yenarinu kitari. Kruchal milach. Daike. Graf. Xeachkeit.
So I kind of want to touch on something a little bit about the story here, because it just kind of clicked with me. That cutscene there in particular is supposed to make you sympathize with the natives of this land. Trapezohedron tells you that the Valkyries invaded, they were cold, heartless, emotionless, and they just, you know, raised the people of this land, and they had to do drastic things to fight back. This tries to make the Trapezohedron sympathetic. You try to sympathize with its cause. But how in God's name can I sympathize with a man that says, do it, get the Elder God shards and corrupt yourself. Do it now. By the way, I am going to corrupt an ability because in my first playthrough, I got rid of the shards, and every single time you get rid of shard and annihilate it at this torch area here, Trapezohedron actively says, you're useless, you're stupid, I hate you, go die. How the hell am I supposed to sympathize with a man in a civilization that actively antagonizes me like that? Like, they don't lift a finger to try and stop you, but then they also, you know, actively spite you for, you know, doing this. It's a weird bit of writing that I don't like. Also, actually, I don't even have to fight that other boss. I could just go here and do this. Alright, so if I remember right, there's another thing to note is that alongside bosses, there are also, hidden Trapezohedron shards. Not Trapezohedron, Elder shards. Every area has at least... No, I can't do it here, never mind, I gotta do the boss. But yeah, every area has one just free Elder shard that you could get. The free one here is near the end of this corridor, but I realize I need the air dash to get it. So, I hate to disappoint, but I'm not gonna get it. Sorry about that. I know you guys were looking forward to it, but I can't make this a little bit easier, and I'm sorry. Though I will make it up to you by showing off probably the coolest boss introduction animation in the game. Like, an actual boss, none of this mid-boss bullshit. We're gonna see an actual boss. But I do want to get over here to fight a mid-boss for a third ability and possibly a corruption. Actually, no possibility. I'm going to corrupt something. I just don't know if I want to corrupt double jump, shield, or gun. I should corrupt gun. That'd be cool. Yeah, I'll corrupt gun. I want to see what corrupt gun looks like. Ooh, this guy. Yeah, this is kind of a tough fight. I don't think I have the damage output for this. But luckily I have the drop attack, and it's so busted. I could also just do this. Oh, I don't have health kits either. I'm not gonna survive this first encounter. Because I don't have health kits. Silly me making... Well, if I play this carefully, I might be able to survive. Yeah, this is kind of the issue I have with their mob-based gameplay, in that with mob-based gameplay you have multiple attacks going on all at once. This is a thing that Dark Souls does to great degrees. And as I've mentioned before, leapfrogging attacks is not difficulty, it's just, you know, lame. Leapfrogging attacks is not difficult at all, it's just frustrating because you're denying the player's ability to have fun with the game, and it's not difficult at all, it's just tedious. Waiting to attack isn't fun. Why give someone a nice and admittedly intricate combat system if you're just gonna make them wait, only give them like a 2-second attack window, and then punish them for attacking? If I sound like I'm stammering a bit, it's because it's a bit hard to play and discuss key points at the same time. And I know this is the lamest thing, just constantly spamming drop attack, but it is my strongest and safest option. So I don't know why someone said this, because I don't get the reference, but I'm basically Tom Greening it here. Because I don't want to have to redo this boss fight. Actually, I think I know who said it, and he's probably going to be watching this. So yeah, if you're watching this, I still don't know what Tom Greening is. I'm still doing it. This one might actually be a little bit difficult because there's no real safe way to approach him. Oh yeah, here's another weird thing about the gun. It goes through walls, but it's also, you also fall when you do it. So let's tenderize this guy a little bit. Yeah, I gotta go around the whole way just to get this guy. That's rough. I think I gotta approach from the left side. Yeah, I gotta approach from the left side. Which is a little hard because the game likes to think tends to think I want to double jump when instead I just want to, well, not double jump, they think I want to wall jump when instead. Oh yeah, this is why I'm not doing that. Let's hang back a little bit, get our shields back, because my next hit is death. Now granted, I could go back, spend my 5,000 shards to get upgrades and, you know, have more HP, more damage. But that you saw those load times. No. One more drop attack should do it, so let's be smart and safe about this. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention one thing, which I'll detail once this thing is dead. Just surprisingly, it's not dead yet. As a pixel of health, I'm 1 off lethal. What is this, Hearthstone? Jesus. I was gonna say Darkest Dungeon, but that doesn't really apply. So, about the music in this game, or lack thereof. The music in this game can be best described as 3 ways. Clumsy accordion, rubbing your head against the electric keyboard, or just weird xylophone. Now, to be fair, it's fitting. A lot of the music is, you know, very unsettling, nerve-wracking, and just weird. But also, it's not clever in the slightest. Like, one of the songs I just now realized kind of just reminds me exactly of the fight music of Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Like when you're in a Twilight Zone and then when a Twilight enemy appears, you hear that kind of bits of the a song similar to that played just now during the boss fight, and it just clicked on me now that that was there. That always felt a little weird to me. So I'm gonna risk load times. Yes, I know you're probably groaning at this, but I want to get the upgrade tree. And I'm gonna end this by getting upgrades, corrupting a skill, and showing off the first boss. I will probably not beat the boss because at my level, he was a chore to beat it when I was really tooled out. So he's probably gonna be a nightmare to deal with at my level. But I think he has the best boss animation in the game. So, 6,000 points. That's a lot of points, actually. Do that. Go over here and enable my ability to do more crit hit. I can also get more crit chance. I can also enhance what I got now. Oh, there's a quicker crit hit chance here. I could just do that. I could also get a shield regeneration speed, which is admittedly better because it gets me damage as well. Let's go ahead and do that. Crit hit is a nice luxury, but it's not necessary, especially when trinkets could give it to you. Maximum health, and I'm only gonna get 2 armor. Actually, now here's another here's one thing that's a little, it's not really a flaw in my opinion, but it could definitely mess with you. When you leave and go back to here, either by accident or on purpose, you will sit right back down and it looks weird. Passive effect, let's put on, let's take a look at what we got so far. The new ones we got was bullet transference, which gives us ammo regen but reduces our melee attack. No, just no. Some people might like that, but I love melee too much to use that. Also, life absorb. Get life leech at the cost of getting no leech potions. I don't know, that's good on paper, but the way this game works is that you rely on shielding way more than health. So if your shield breaks, you're already in trouble, and then your health is going to be the ticker. So I really don't think that's a good perk to rely on. I'll just put on Assassinate. Because I am always a fan of sacrificing max health for more. Damn it! See what I mean about the upgrade tree just interrupting you? So let's go ahead and corrupt ability. I could corrupt shielding, double jump. Where did I get double jump? Or gun. Or, notice how that's lit up, I could just destroy it. Now here's the trade-off. I will tell you this, I don't know what corrupting an ability does, so we will address that once it happens. But, by burning an Elder Shard, you get more shards, and a unique upgrade tree appears to you. By burning this one, you would unlock an upgrade tree that turns your roll into a damaging attack, which is really good. If I remember this is right, this is shield. And that's shield. That must be double jump. Yeah, that's double jump. I could corrupt that. Yeah, let's corrupt double jump because getting access to cannon is too it's too long. I'll just bloat this video. And I know you guys don't want that as bloated as it is already. Now, I will probably archive this after I record this, so remember to me on that. But if you want to see a true, pure, blind playthrough of the game, I did stream a good 8 hours of this on Twitch, so I have that archived. That is like my true blind reactions, just a bunch of disjointed opinion across a bunch of segments, but it's also blind reaction, so you can see my purest experience while doing this. Alright. Evil! Ooh. That looks rough. Zitonga's wings. Oh, ooh. I can see that being useful. So I can explain the trade-off for this. If you get the corrupted double jump, you get a glide, which is actually nice. It makes some platforming a lot easier, but if you choose to burn enough Elder Shards, your double jump eventually gets an upgrade tree that lets you triple jump. This is a good trade-off in my opinion. I like this trade-off. You could get the immediate effect of this goofy business with really nice animations, or you could get triple jump. And it plays into the storytelling of this game. Do you want to rely on the power of man and science, or do you want to give in and succumb to the allure of the power of the Eldritch Gods? That is good storytelling done via gameplay. Now let's go ahead and see the hype for this boss, because y'all are probably wondering, well, what could this boss possibly be that has really good animation? Let me tell you, Thunder Lotus really loves boss fights with Jotun. That was like their entire emphasis of the game. And while there aren't as much bosses in Sundered, they definitely don't hold back their love for boss fights, which is admirable. A lame boss fight is the worst thing you could have in a video game. Open up, damn it. There we go. Ugh. Now, this door right here, this is what I was referring to, because beyond this is an Elder Shard, but I'm pretty sure I need air dash to get to it, and at this point, getting it would be a waste of time. So let's see what this boss is all about. Man, this video is going on way longer than I expected. 50 minutes? That's kind of the trade-off with doing formats like this. It's a more organic way to explain things, but also, since there's no editing, it's a lot bigger in general. So if you stuck through this video, the whole game viewer, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and your efforts will be paid off. Think of it like a podcast more than anything. Yeah, this is a podcast showing of Sundered. So here's the first boss. Let's kind of glide into it and I'm not even going to say anything, just enjoy this animation. That is the freakiest thing I have ever seen. That shit's rad. And he also just, you know, goes through portals to punch you instead of just doing it himself. That's really weird, and that's why I dig a lot of the things in this game. It's one of the main reasons why I stuck with this game for so long. Because when I saw this boss fight, I thought this was the raddest thing ever. Like, this is a boss fight. And as we've mentioned before, Thunder Lotus knows boss fights. Now the trade-off with this boss fight is that he gets tougher the more of these little needles you destroy, because they're basically his HP. So, more attacks appear, it makes it harder to deal with things in general. So you gotta figure out which little needle is easy for you to hit, and deal with that then, because you kinda wanna save the easy to hit needles for later in the boss fight rather than earlier. Also, man, I can see why you would corrupt this ability, because this glide makes maneuvering this area super easy. Also, it's gonna seem like I get a little confused here. That's because this boss fight is so big, I often get lost. Which is actually kind of a flaw. You could get lost with how huge these oh, there I go. Yeah, these boss fights could get so huge that you could just get lost in trying to figure out where it is. But yeah, I think that's a good showing of Sundered. Once we get to the loading screen, I'll summarize my thoughts. Because odds are, by this point, you, the viewer, have scanned the video and probably have found the last few minutes of the video and said, well, I don't want to watch all this 50 minutes of bullshit, just give me the summary. So here's your summary. Sundered is a game that is inherently flawed, in my opinion. I don't like random map generation in a Metroidvania, which requires, you know, key points to get through. I don't like horde combat in a game where leapfrogging attacks and visual pollution detracts from the combat of the game. I also don't like some of the storytelling elements. There's a lot of contrast in the storytelling elements that are not great. Speaking of, I did want to show off the lore that I don't like. Every one of these things has a quote. Every single one of these big things has a quote along with your perks. Your perks have a quote. They're very lazy quotes. They don't add or contribute anything. That's lazy lore. That's lore I hate. And that's also a negative. But I will say, this game did a lot of things just right to keep me going to 100% the game. The mobility is really good. Death is actually forgiving in this game. Even though this game is merciless, it will throw thousands of enemies at you. It will be unfair. You will die a lot and the game will laugh at you because of it. But death is not unfair. You keep your money on death. You go straight back to your upgrade tree where you're allowed to get better. And then you get better, go back, kill more monsters, and get more upgrade points. It's kind of a Skinner box scenario in a way, but it's not overly antagonizing. They don't kick your dick in the dirt for dying. I like that. I hate the mindset of killing players and then punishing them because they're not good enough. That's what I like about this game. I love the art aesthetic, I love the setting. I would totally love to see more of this setting in particular, with a more developed game, mind you, but still, I like the setting. I'm actually interested in the war between the Valkyries and the Eshenites. These guys are called the Echelons, by the way. That's something that they don't really detail into you until Zone 2, so I'm bringing that up right now. I was actually interested in the story, and I was satisfied with what I got, and I want to see more. And I actually do like the main character. She's subtle enough to not be like in-your-face, sexy, bombastic protagonist. But she's also got style, she's got grace, she has character despite not saying a word, which is also good. So yeah, now for the final thing. Would I recommend Sundered? Very hesitantly. I like the game a lot, but I feel like I like it because I got it free. I feel like if I had paid $20, that is the asking price of this game, $20. And in a way, it's worth $20 because this game is gorgeous and I got a lot out of it. But I feel like if I got paid $20 to get this, I would probably be disappointed. The Steam page at this time of recording has a lot of negative reviews which have been buried, and they bring up a lot of good points which I do bring up with this video. I will say I feel like this game is worth playing through, but not $20 playthrough. I would recommend at least 50% off. I was going to say $50 off. No, that's not fair. But yeah, this game is deeply inherently flawed, but I still liked it. It's not criminally average, which is good. It's also not overtly bad, but there are flaws. But I liked playing it. There was never a situation where I died and said, that's bullshit, I'm not going to play for a while. It's also not boring enough to where I had just stopped playing to go make a sandwich. The sum of its holes does just enough to keep you interested and is still fun in a way, but there are still problems. So, in a way, I would say yes, Sundered is worth playing, but not at $20. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's been a long road, it's not typically what I do, but I just have a lot to say about this game because there's just so much to it. There's a lot. It's a melting pot of like all the buzzwords that we see nowadays in gaming development, and it will probably be dated in the future, which is why I had to do it in such a manner. So, my name's Highwing. This has been Sundered by Jotun Games. Thank you once again, Jotun Games, for providing me with the CD key. I really enjoyed playing it, despite all the flaws I pointed out. I hope this was a good telling of your view. Please don't take it as, antagonistic. I'm trying not to be mean here, I'm trying to be constructive. The game can be improved if you take the time to improve it, but I still think that this game right now is still flawed in many ways. So, thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you next time.